Okay, hello and welcome everyone. As the title of this video says, we're here to open the door of enlightenment. You can call me Rob. I've been on the spiritual path for the past decade, and up until 2 months ago, I was living as a Buddhist monk. I've had the chance and the opportunity to travel around the world living as a monk, to practice meditation seriously with a large variety of world-renowned Buddhist teachers and masters, many of them monks. And I still suffer. I go through suffering. I experience difficulties, experience high points and low points. And what I find in my life is that there's nothing more rewarding to come back to, a way to end suffering. In this live stream today, and hopefully some people are tuning into this recording, we're going to be exploring the teachings of Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma is kind of the founder of Zen. He's a very famous monk who started the Zen tradition in China. And there are many ancient texts that are attributed to him. And we'll be going through those today in this live stream. We'll be going into the teachings of Bodhidharma. If you are like me and you also have suffering, this is a great way to connect with deep wisdom and deep teachings, not just on how to feel better, but how to feel free and how to access freedom in the here and now. And if you are here and like this content and want to support this content, please feel welcome and invited to leave a like, a comment, to say hello, and to support this work if you feel that it has value. Right now I am at my hotel room here in Taiwan, and right now, after transitioning from the past 7 years of being path in a new way of living, where right now I'm just wandering currently in Taiwan and kind of supporting myself through the Dhamma, through sharing and teaching online, and slowly but surely finding what's next on the path for me. And in the midst of that, something I get so much value from and is really a meaningful activity for me is to study the Dhamma and to share my life with other people in the world who may also be interested in the Buddhist teachings and who maybe sometimes have difficulty to connect and feel the lifeblood or the living connections to the end of suffering and to the Enlightenment teachings. There's many ways to approach enlightenment, from a Hindu perspective, from a Buddhist perspective, and within Hinduism and Buddhism, there's all kinds of different approaches and styles of teaching. And while I may not be the greatest person that's ever lived or the most enlightened person that's ever lived, it's part of my practice and a part of my happiness to be able to share these teachings, and it keeps me motivated as well to have other people who want to come together and look at these teachings. So we're going to start by having a little bit of a biography, actually, of this teacher Bodhidharma, and then we'll get into some teachings. And please, as you're here, feel welcome to leave a comment, say hello, leave a like, ask your questions, and don't be shy. As we approach the world of enlightenment, as we wish to open the door of enlightenment in the present moment, in the here and now, it's very helpful to have a comfortable position for the body. So you can find a comfortable position to sit in. It's good to sit upright. It's good to have a quality of awareness, but also relaxation. And as we listen to these teachings, we can actually come to our breathing and be with the body, and hopefully feel a natural sense of relaxation as we explore the teachings of Bodhidharma. And this is based on a translation of the 7 texts of the Bodhidharma anthology. And this text number 1 is kind of a little bit of a biography. So the Dharma master, which a Dharma master means a master of the mind, master of ending suffering, being free from suffering. Here talking about Bodhidharma. So the Dharma master was a South Indian of the Western region. He was the 3rd son of a great Indian king. His divine insight was clear. Whatever he understood. His ambition lay in the Mahayana path, and so he put aside his white layman's robe for the black robe of a monk. So this picture that's being painted is an Indian man who decided to leave behind his life of a businessman and step into this world of being a monk for the benefit of all, and made it flourish. So one of the pretty common, pretty consistent beliefs that we have in various spiritual traditions pertaining to enlightenment is that there's a kind of lineage. And what that points to is how important it is to connect in a direct and practical way with meditation masters, with people who've been practicing and doing this for a long time, and that's allows you to connect with the tradition of enlightenment rather than just your own thoughts about enlightenment. And you can kind of think of it in terms of like Jesus, right? So Jesus was a carpenter. So Jesus, before he became a carpenter, if he was interested in carpentry, he probably wouldn't just look on Google for, carpentry videos. He would try to find a carpenter. And he wouldn't try to just find any carpenter. He would try to connect with a carpenter that has been doing this for a long time and hopefully has trained through generations of previous carpenters. So that's really where the hold or the storehouse of experience is, not just in this life, not just in this body, not just in this time, but going back into infinite past lives and past time. Right? So this tradition of enlightenment, this sagely lineage continues. He merged with the sagely lineage and made it flourish. His dark mind was empty. He comprehended the events of the world. He understood both Buddhist and non-Buddhist teachings. His virtue surpassed that of the leaders of the age. A very virtuous person who understood basically everything. Lamenting the decline of the true teaching in the outlands, he subsequently crossed distant mountains and seas, traveling about propagating the teaching in Han and Wei. So this monk, Bodhidharma, he heard that the teaching in the outer lands, outside the center of China, let's say, was starting to diminish, was starting to lower. And so he went out there to share the true teaching. And he crossed distant mountains and seas, and he traveled about sharing these teachings. So of scholars who had extinguished mind, there were none who did not come to have faith in him. But those who clung to characteristics and preserved views came to ridicule him. So this is a part of the Enlightenment teaching or Enlightenment philosophy, is actually to extinguish mind, which is to extinguish chasing after something, which is to extinguish trying to avoid something. So a mind, the body, the mind are kind of like a fire, a burning fire, constantly burning. And to extinguish that mind is to extinguish the fire of suffering, the burning of suffering. And so of those scholars or of those learned peoples who had extinguished the mind, there were none who did not come to have faith in him, but those who clung to characteristics and preserved views came to ridicule him. So Bodhidharma and this Zen teaching is very much a teaching of no views, no characteristics. Sometimes Zen teachers will say, there's a story of this Zen master Joshu, and there was a new monk at the monastery, and Joshu's like the Zen master, the head monk there. And so this new monk said, you know, need some help. I need help getting enlightenment, and was very serious about it. Have you finished eating your rice? And the monk said, yes. And so Joshu said, wash your bowl. So it's a real cutting through of the nonsense of opinions, of views, of attachment to appearances. You cut through all of the habitual motion of seeking. You extinguish the mind. Don't cling to any characteristics, any appearances, like big or small. And do not preserve views. Okay? At the time, his only disciples were Tao Yu and Hui Ko. These two monks, even though born later, showed a superior aspiration for the lofty and distant. So this aspiration for enlightenment, this aspiration for freedom from suffering, this is an even bigger aspiration than becoming a millionaire, than becoming a king, than having everything you want, right? Life being completely the way that you want it to be. So this mind of enlightenment, this experience of freedom is lofty and distant. And we have luck and trouble and confusions and negativity we get ourselves bound into. So fortunately, they met the Dharma master, Bodhidharma, and served him for several years. They reverently requested him to inform them, and they readily perceived the master's intention. The Dharma master was moved by their pure sincerity and instructed them in the true path, thus quieting mind. Right? So this true path is primarily about quieting the mind. Thus giving rise to practice, right? So if we know how to quiet the mind, then we can give rise to practice. If we don't know how to pause thinking, if we don't know how to pause habitual energy, if we don't know how to step back from doom scrolling or playing video games or watching movies, if we don't know how to pause that and step back from that, then that's all we can basically do. But when we can put a pause on thinking, when we can quiet the mind, then we can give rise to practice, and then we can accord with things. We can be in accord with the way that things are, or we can go with the flow. And going with the flow is very peaceful, very relaxed. And thus, implementing the provisional teaching devices. So implementing the devices of reciting the name of the Buddha, doing metta meditation practice, going to a meditation retreat, doing what we're doing here together, which is a provisional practice to study the Dhamma, to listen to the Dhamma, listen to the teachings. So this is the quieting of mind of the Mahayana Dharma. Mahayana means great vehicle, and Dharma means truth or pathway to truth. Make no mistake about it. Thus, quieting the mind is wall examining. Thus, giving rise to practice is the four practices. Thus, according with things is protection against derision. Thus, implementing devices is to implement devices without attachment. This brief preface draws upon the meaning in the following text. Okay? We can take a moment to practice wall gazing, being aware of our breathing wherever it is. Maybe it's in the belly, maybe it's in the chest, maybe it's in the nose. The legend of Bodhidharma is that the wall that we always have access to is the wall of our eyelids. Provisional to gaze at, to stare at. Breathing and gazing at the wall. Quieting the mind. Aware of being aware. Aware of just being aware. Not bound up in the past. Not having ideas about the future. Just closing the eyes and facing the wall. Breathing and gazing at the wall. So the two entrances, these are now believed to be the words of Bodhidharma. Now, in entering the path, there are many roads. To summarize them, they reduce to two types. The first is by principle, and the second, entrance by practice. Entering by principle means that one awakens to the thesis by means of the teachings, and one deeply believes that all living beings, common and sagely, are identical to the true nature, that it is merely because of the unreal covering of adventitious dust that the true nature is not revealed. If one rejects the false and reverts to the real, and in a coagulated state abides in wall examining, then self and other, common man and sage, are identical, firmly abiding without shifting, in no way following after the written teachings. This is mysteriously tallying with principle. It is non-discriminative, quiescent, and inactive. We call it entrance by principle. Entering by practice means the 4 practices, for all other practices are included within these. What are the 4? The first is the practice of requiting energy. The second is the practice of following conditions. The third is the practice of having nothing to be sought. And the fourth is the practice of according with the Dharma. What is the practice of requiting injury? If the practitioner who is cultivating the path encounters suffering, he thinks to himself, I, from the past, across innumerable eons, have become estranged from the root and followed various existences, producing a great ill will and hatred, antagonizing and harming others endlessly. Though there is no transgression on my part in the present, this suffering is the ripening of karmic fruits, of the faults of my past lives. It is something that neither the gods nor men have put upon me. With satisfaction, I will bear and accept it, with absolutely no ill will or complaining. The sutra says, when you meet suffering, do not be sad. Why? Because you comprehend the underlying reason behind it. One is yoked with principle. Taking as an opportunity, one advances on the path, and therefore it is called the practice of requiting injury. So when we find ourselves to be in internal suffering that seems to be coming from the outside world, instead of taking the position that we are being wronged, the other people are, that we don't deserve this, that we don't want this, that this doesn't make sense, requiting, injury. Feeling a little bit Stone Age here with this word. Let's look it up. Requiting. To requite. What is it? So to make an appropriate return. To return a favor, to respond to. So responding to injury in the appropriate way. So when we feel that suffering, we accept and understand that this is a matter of our past actions ripening, our past unskillful actions ripening. And so when we feel that ill will from the outside world, when we feel that suffering within ourselves, we don't get confused. We say, this makes sense. And by paying back that debt, by experiencing that suffering, paying back that debt that we owe from our past actions and being willing to do that, we immediately yoke or fix ourselves on the principle of true nature. This makes sense. I'm not confused about this. I accept this without complaint. taking ill will as an opportunity, one advances on the path. And therefore it is called the practice of requiting energy. So that's the first of these practices. As to the second, and remember, the two entryways to the path. So one is the entry by principle, or to believe, to touch, to have faith in the teachings, and then to align ourselves with the truth. That all conditioned phenomena are expressions of the true nature, expressions of nothingness. That there is no separation in anything. So entry by principle, which I think we'll talk more about, and entry by practice, 4 practices in particular. The first one is requiting injury or accepting difficulties with understanding. As to the second practice, the practice of following conditions, sentient beings lack a self. This is Zen Buddhism. This is Chan. This is the Dharma. This is the Dhamma. You'll find a lot of politically correct nonsense online and in different spaces, modernized Buddhism and different perspectives that people take. But this is the Buddhist Dharma, so please listen closely. So as to the second, the practice of following conditions. Sentient beings lack a self and are all whirled around by conditions and karma. Suffering and joy are to be equally accepted, for both arise from conditions. If I encounter excellent karmic recompense, such as honor and so forth, it is in response to causes in my past lives. Even if I should encounter such recompense in the present, the necessary conditions for it will exhaust themselves and it will again cease to exist. What is there to be joyful about in its existence? Must follow conditions. Mind has neither increase nor decrease. Unmoved by the winds of joy, one is mysteriously in accordance with the path. Therefore, it is called the practice of following conditions. This is a primordial, sharp teaching of the Buddha, and it draws a clear line. I mean, if you go back and you see how the Buddha instructs the monks, and you see how the Buddha talks about the Dharma for people who want to be on this path of enlightenment, some of it is very harsh, very, very strong. And what that all comes down to is this practice of following conditions. So whatever you encounter, the winds of joy and the winds of suffering, from the Buddhist perspective, suffering, both are empty, both are impermanent, both do not exist separate from the other. Both are unworthy of grasping. So when the Buddha teaches about the ugliness of sexuality, when the Buddha teaches about the importance of not enjoying food, there's a sutra. When I was staying, I've stayed a few times with the Plum Village Sangha in California, Thich Nhat Hanh's community. I've lived with them as a monk quite a few times. And that's a very flowery, progressive, Western tradition of Buddhism. It appeals to a lot of middle class, upper class, general people with their families. And they have a sutra book that we do for reading and we do for chanting. And one of the sutras in that book is so interesting. And it's a story the Buddha told about a husband, a man and his wife, a husband and wife and their child in the desert. And he says that this husband and wife and their child were walking through the desert, and it got to a realistic point where the mother and father would not have been able to continue that walk through the desert to get to the other side. Maybe they're sincere practitioners, they have a aspiration for enlightenment, but anyway, this drive to live that we all have. And so to make it through the desert, option, they had to kill and eat their only child. This is the teaching of the Buddha. And the Buddha said, how do you think that food tasted? How do you think it felt? What do you think the taste was as this mother and father were killing and eating, consuming their only child? The Buddha's instruction on eating for the monks: eat as if you were that mother, as if you were that father. Now, why would the Buddha say this? Why would the Buddha teach like this? Because our affiliation for pleasure is holding up our affiliation for pain. Because our attachment to joy is holding up our attachment to suffering. Now, you take a balanced approach like this because you'll find yourself eating sand if you're not careful. But this is a very deep principle in the Buddhist teachings and how to work with the mind. It's something we can incorporate into our understanding so we're more aligned with principle, even though, not everybody is going to go and become a monk. So there's kind of teachings for lay people oftentimes, and there's teachings for monks. The modern American people, we want it all. We want the highest teachings, but we may not be ready for that. So it can be humble approach. All right, so that was the second practice, going in accords with conditions. As to the third, I don't really know why it's called that, going in accords with conditions or following conditions. It may be this equally accepting. That's what it is, to equally accept joy, equally accept suffering. So as to the third, the practice of having nothing to be sought. Please listen closely. This is really worldly people, and this is the Buddhist position. This is the Dhamma. This is the perspective of well-minded Buddhist experiencers, okay? Worldly people are in a perpetual state of delusion. Everywhere they are covetous and attached, and this is called seeking. The person of insight awakens to reality. So this is a notion that there is a reality. There is a reality that is not about human beings. There is a reality that is not about ownership. There is a reality that is not about past or future. There is a reality that is not about your idea of your life. And this is the reality. So listen closely to this. This is the third practice for attaining to the path, waking up. And we can all express some gratitude to Bodhidharma and the technology, and that everything has come together like this, to be able to listen to this Dhamma. So please do feel a sense of gratitude. I do. And these teachings are essential for the practice of meditation. So the practice of requiting injury, to face and accept the suffering that's happening within when we start to face ourselves in meditation. Following conditions, to see equally the positive experience in our meditation and also the negative experience in our meditation. As to the third, the practice of having nothing to be sought, worldly people are in a perpetual state of delusion. Everywhere they are covetous and attached. And this is called seeking. The person of insight awakens to reality. Is the obverse of the quiet mind, no action. Forms follow the turnings of fate. The 10,000 existences are thus void. Wish for nothing. Merit and darkness always follow each other. A long time dwelling in the three realms is like living in a burning house. Having a body is all suffering. Who can attain peace? If one comprehends this locus, then in his various existences he will stop thoughts and have no seeking. Right? Stop thoughts and have no seeking. I mean, and if you went to the car dealership, or you were at the McDonald's to renew your driver's license, and you're having an experience and you've got to go and the person at the counter said, stop thoughts and have no seeking, you'd be ready to kill somebody. You'd be ready to go to war. So mental state, that is the habit energy, that is the quality of this seeking after pleasure and avoiding pain. You wouldn't listen. And so that might be the Buddha talking to you. Right? And there's another idea here, right? And this is Bodhidharma. I think it's like this, Merit or blessings and darkness always follow each other. A long time dwelling in the three realms is like living in a burning house. Okay? The realm of desire, the realm of humans, and the realm of gods. Realm of desire, the human world. Where are you? We have to be very careful about dwelling in these situations of experience, right? Because there's a fundamental difference between being mindful and detached, or attaching and being ignorant of impermanence. Because if we feel something, if we experience something, and we want to perpetuate that over and over and over again, we're lacking insight in that. We're not seeing that that experience is inherently impermanent, and instead we're cultivating darkness by attaching to our merit. We're cultivating suffering when we attach to blessings. All right? The sutra says, seeking is all suffering. Seeking nothing is joy. We clearly know that seeking nothing truly is practice of the path. And as to the fourth, the practice of according with Dharma, the principle of purity is viewed as Dharma. According to this principle, all characteristics are void, without defilement and without attachment, without this and that. The sutra says, in Dharma there are no sentient beings, of the impurities of sentient beings. In Dharma there is no self, because it is free of the impurities. And understand this principle should practice according to the Dharma. Has no stinginess. In terms of your life and property, practice giving. Your mind free of parsimony. Could we get a definition check on parsimony? What is parsimony, friends? Parsimony is unwillingness to spend money or use resources. Once again, we're kind of getting to an aspect of the teachings that is firmly established and well-rooted in Asiatic cultures and societies that are based around Buddhism, but has been kind of avoided or not directly faced in the Western view of spiritual life, so that you can have your cake and eat it too. But the Buddha says you cannot have your cake and eat it too. That this Dharma substance, this intrinsic total purity, has no stinginess. It has no collecting or holding for oneself. And that's fully expressed in the life of a monk, or the notion of what a monk is and what a monk does. That they give up everything. So maybe you can kind of go to percentages of monks. You could be 100% monk, you could be 80%, 90% monk. But to truly give up everything and to be in this state of mind where there is no stinginess. And I sometimes can see this stinginess it's something I've noticed, but you'll ask somebody to do something for you. Or you'll ask a group or you'll ask people to kind of do something that's very low effort, very easy to do, very simple to do, makes complete sense to do. But that quality of stinginess, if something is asked for, or if you're told to do something, no way, I'm not doing that. Are you kidding me? And so in the Dharma, there's no stinginess. You can imagine just full generosity, your whole life being giving everything, moment by moment, completely, right? So when you walk out the door and your lawn, everything, giving up the past, and just being open. It doesn't mean to reject or destroy, but it's this quality of openness. So as to the fourth practice of entering the path, entering the Dhamma path, the practice of according with Dharma, the principle of intrinsic purity is viewed as Dharma. So all phenomena are completely and totally pure, are complete. This quality of completeness or totalness, all characteristics void. All apparent aspects of experience, of idea, of ideation, of cognition, of direction are void. Without defilement and without attachment, without this and that. So according with, let's say, the mind that has no this or that has no subject or object, that has no good or bad, right or wrong, left or back or forward. Sutra says, in Dharma, there are no sentient beings, since it is free of the impurities of sentient beings. In Dharma, there is no self, because it is free of the impurities of self. Here, I would also say reality as it is. So there's this kind of fixation. I have some warm tea here. There's this ignorance, there's this belief that there's something outside of the direct experience, right? So it's the purity of direct experience of reality as it is. It can't be put into a box. That can't is total purity. And it is free from and does not depend on anything that is not there. Everything that is not there is totally pure, totally empty. It's not actually there. The story of your life, the story of the world, in that Dharma purity is not there. Is your life in the taste of this cup of tea? It has nothing to do with complicated thoughts. It has nothing to do with characteristics. It has nothing to do with descriptions. It is free of the impurity of descriptions. It is free of the impurity of words and phrases. It is free of the impurity of thoughts. And it's simple and ordinary, just like the taste of this tea. And when you're not going in accordance with the Dharma, it means you're ready to go to war over someone else's experience. You're willing to go to war with the taste of tea, rather than to be in accord with the way that things actually are. Then you're perpetuating all these thought theories about your life that don't help you practice mindfulness. And that may be a major part of our lives as lay people, as people who aren't supported by a monastery, having relationships, doing all these different things. But to practice meditation seriously, we have to know how to enter the path. So we have to understand the principle, and we have to have practices that we can enable in our lives, so that we don't endlessly spiral into more and more attachment to these different kinds of experience, these different levels of existence, because you may never get out. So the practice of according with Dharma. The principle of intrinsic purity is viewed as Dharma. According to this principle, all characteristics are void, without defilement and without attachment, without this and that, so that no sensation, no characteristic, no thought, no experience, etc., according to this principle of intrinsic purity, all characteristics are void, just as they are, just that sensation as it is void. There's no defilement in it, there's no attachment in it, there's no this and that in it, there's no duality in it. The sutra says in Dharma, so we can take Dharma as the principle of intrinsic purity as applied to any and all phenomena. Dharma can mean truth, Dharma can also mean phenomena. And these are breakthrough phenomena, we can say. So in Dharma, in phenomena, in intrinsic purity, there are no sentient beings. Since it is free, of the impurities of sentient beings. In Dharma, there is no self, because it is free of the impurities of self. The one of insight, who is able to believe in and understand this principle, should practice according to Dharma. The Dharma substance has no stinginess in terms of your life and property. Practice giving, your mind free of parsimony or keeping for yourself. You will comprehend the three voidnesses, solicit nothing and be attached to nothing. Merely for the sake of eliminating impurity, embrace and transform sentient beings, and yet do not grasp characteristics. This is self-benefit, but in addition, it can benefit others. It also can ornament the path of enlightenment. When you give in this spirit, the other five perfections follow suit. False thought, one practice, and yet there is nothing that is practiced. This is the practice of according with Dharma. Let's take to pause thinking. Connect with our breathing that's happening. Connect with stillness. Feel the breathing in the body. With the breathing, bring the mind home to the body. Face, accept, and experience the whole body and mind, using your breathing to stay focused and grounded, and accept, without complaint, as you're breathing, the experience of the body-mind. Use your breathing to maintain focus and attention so that awareness does not become confused by appearances. Stay with the breathing. Stay with awareness. Stay with acceptance without complaint. The mind moves and seeks, has preferences, wants to make choices, wants to be in control. Don't fight it, don't judge it, don't think about it. Return the mind to attention on breathing. Bring the mind away from those choices and opinions and thoughts. Home to the body. Facing, aware, being with the whole body and mind through breathing. Sensations of the breath. No seeking, just breathing. Just know to the whole body and mind. Just know to the whole world. When your attention collapses, when your meditation collapses, return to breathing. Return to awareness of the body and mind without complaint. At this moment, whether breathing in or breathing out. Everything makes sense. Just breathe. Not stingy, sincere and generous. Of judgment, views, characteristics, and opinions. Seeing through into no judgment of the sensations in the body, no views in the mind, no opinions about reality. Sitting upright in a comfortable, stable position, spine straight, head up. Taking a deep breath if needed. Breathing in deeply, feeling the mind in the body. With the awareness of mind in the body, simply direct attention onto the sensations of breathing at the tip of the nose. Stay with, follow, return to the sensations of breathing at the tip of the nose. When you make a judgment about the body, return attention to the breathing at the tip of the nose. when you start to think or become involved with a thought. Return attention to the breathing at the tip of the nose. Please repeat after me. Breathing in, I am aware of the whole body and mind. Breathing out, I direct attention of the whole body and mind to the breathing at the tip of the nose. Breathing in, I am aware. Breathing out, breathing in, I am willing to feel suffering without complaint. Breathing in, I am willing to feel suffering without complaint. Breathing out, I am willing to relax without attachment. Breathing out, I am willing to relax without attachment. Please repeat after me. May I be free from attachment to both joy and suffering. May I be free from attachment to both pleasure and pain. May I be free from attachment to characteristics and views. Be free from all attachments. May all beings be free from all attachments. May all beings be free from all attachments. Okay, at time we can come out of our meditation, and if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask or to share. You can also share about your meditation experience. And thank you to dear Miss M. I am living fully through the donations and support of the community, so it's very much appreciated. Okay. If not, we'll finish here. Take care. Be well. Be free.